drawing attention from people that you couldn't intimidate into silence. Fraud of this magnitude does not happen overnight. It builds slowly, and it's the result of institutional failures and poor leadership. So, Governor, my question is simple. If the buck stopped with you, as you said, who failed between 2019 and 2022, and why were they not held accountable?
We just uncovered the real reason Tim Walz's administration let billions in taxpayer dollars vanish. Whistleblowers were sounding the alarm for years, but according to new testimony, they were intimidated into silence. Why? Because the administration was more worried about being called racist than they were about stopping massive fraud. Before we show you this unbelievable admission, do me a favor, hit that like button. But we have to push this video past the filters that want to protect the swamp. And if you think the law should be enforced regardless of politics, hit that subscribe button right now. It's 100% free, and it's how we reach 100,000 Patriots together. Let's roll the tape.
Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes Mr. Timmons and then McGuire.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the witnesses for being here today. Governor Walz, under your leadership, Minnesota has become the poster boy of fraud in America. Between the Feeding Our Future scheme and massive widespread fraud in autism and child care programs, your tenure will be defined by immense negligence, costing taxpayers at least hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. In 2019, in the first months of your administration, your legislative auditor found serious weaknesses in the child care assistance program, including inadequate attendance verification, repeat bad actors cycling through the system, weak enforcement, and employees who feared retaliation for raising concerns. Those warnings were specific, they were actionable, and they were documented. And you were already in office at this time. If, as you say, the buck stops with you, Governor, it's unclear when the buck actually stopped. In your written testimony, you listed multiple actions you have taken to curb fraud, yet clearly they were insufficient. As Minnesota ended up with 14 Medicaid programs deemed high risk, representing over $18 billion in spending. The buck didn't stop when whistleblowers were silenced years ago. It only stopped when you realized the fraudsters were drawing attention from people that you couldn't intimidate into silence. Fraud of this magnitude does not happen overnight. It builds slowly, and it's the result of institutional failures and poor leadership. So, Governor, my question is simple. If the buck stopped with you, as you said, who failed between 2019 and 2022, and why were they not held accountable?
Who failed in what, Congressman?
This fraud has been growing until recently, and you have been governor for many years.
No, well, thank you for the question, Congressman. And I would disagree with your characterization, obviously. And the legislative auditor, I don't know what the time period they investigated. Those are usually come months after they did it. We took office in January of 2019 and immediately started acting on what the OLA, the Office of Legislative Auditor, independent branch, started asking us to do, where we started changing the programs.
Congressman Timmons puts the facts right in Walz's face. He exposes how whistleblowers were silenced and how alleged racism became the ultimate shield for fraudsters in Minnesota. Watch this.
In the programs.
That's not what the record reflects. The record reflects that there were all of these whistleblowers and they were being intimidated because alleged racism was the motivation behind the degree of enforcement.
Congressman, I've never got a chance to speak to these folks. What I will say is that, and my time in Congress proved that, I strongest whistleblower protections we can possibly have. We have plenty of opportunities.
We're not talking to every other state. We're talking to Minnesota because of the rampant fraud. So, look,
is there no fraud in any other states?
3 members of the Minnesota State House of Representatives, who all served on the Fraud Prevention and State Oversight Policy Committee, gave transcribed interviews that confirmed that your administration was aware of the fraud happening in the state, yet chose not to act due to fear of political repercussions and intentionally silenced whistleblowers who have tried to come forward.
Well, that's incorrect.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to insert this in the record. Roadmap to Program Integrity and Fraud Prevention. It's a report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This report relays that several current and former Department of Human Services employees have described messaging from DHS leadership that emphasized compassion over compliance. So the former leaders have said that DHS should be guided by 70% compassion and 30% compliance. And then in 2023 DHS public presentation, leadership encouraged employees to embrace a 60-40 mindset. Again, that's 60% compassion and 40% compliance. I want to have as much compassion for people that need social safety nets. Like, I want to have 100% compassion, but we also have to have 100% compliance or work as hard as we can to get there. And as you sit here today, and after acknowledging how widespread and pervasive fraud is in Minnesota, how should your state employees prioritize program compliance? What is your message to people now relative to this compassion compliance ratio?
Well, I think I agree with you on this, Congressman. I don't think it's an either or choice. We need to make sure we're not going to stop these programs. We're not going to stop being the top state for children in the country, but we need to make sure if we're going to continue those programs that we need to have fraud prevention and program integrity in. So I agree with you. It's not an either or, and it's not a percentage.
In order to give the benefits to the people that need them most, we have to be good stewards of tax dollars.
That's right.
And for every dollar that is stolen through waste, fraud, and abuse, that is a dollar that cannot go to people that need it most. So we need to prioritize compliance, make sure that we have the least amount of fraud possible. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back. Thank you.
I agree, Congressman.
Gentleman yields back.
They chose compassion over compliance and lost $18 billion of your money. This is what happens when identity politics takes over the legal system. If you stand with the whistleblowers and not the swamp, drop a truth in the comments. Don't forget to sub. We're hitting 100,000 soon. Stay strong, Patriots.